What do the Browns do? What do the Browns do at this point?
A lot,
If
yeah.
night one shakes out like this, what are we thinking?
If night one is shaping out like this, yeah, I mean, I can tell you who I like. I can tell you who I think would be smart, who I think would be perfect plug and play. Let's waste little time and start addressing other needs going forward.
Who's that?
Travion Henderson
I like it.
out of Ohio State.
I like the.
I
love
think you got. I
Travion
think
Henderson.
you have too many. You have too many questions with the future of Nick Chubb. Jerome Ford is not going to be your long term answer. Let's start rebuilding. I think they owe it to Nick Chubb to test the free agent market, which they're going to let him do. But I mean, why waste the time putting a stopgap in there when you can just find your guy? You've already got a quarterback. Start the rebuild from the literal ground and pound up. I think it's very for top of the first round, Travion Henderson. I mean, you could look at the next four picks. Any of those teams would have been happy with them. So I'm very happy if the Browns walk away with them.
I think I don't know why PFF. I was just looking at PFF's like big board and rankings. I don't know why they have Travion Henderson so low. He's RB2 for me.
Yeah.
I love Travion Henderson. He can pass, but he kind of reminds me of Zeke a little bit. Maybe not like the overall dominant running back, but from a complete game perspective, like he's a great pass blocker. He's showed explosiveness. He's a very good runner. His contact balance is good. He's got good. He's just a very good running back across the board. There's maybe some other guys on here that have an ounce more of explosiveness or maybe do things at more of an elite level than Travion Henderson does, but he checks every single box for me. I love Travion Henderson. I think he's going to be a very, very good NFL running back. I don't think he's going to be like a Saquon or like a complete game dominator, but I think he's a bona fide starting NFL running back in my opinion.
I think with where the
three
Browns
down,
are
three
at,
down running back, three
is,
down
and
running back.
he's also a find his own space kind of running back, and that's what they're going to need to be able to move the ball next year. I mean, Joel Bitonio's gone. Like, I mean, they're going to need somebody who's going to be able to create with the rock in their hands. And I mean, I think he fits the mold perfectly for them.
That there's a correction. Joel Bitonio is actually back with the Browns.
Oh, he's back. Okay,
he's back.
It was rumored that he was going to be out earlier today.
Yeah.
But either way, I mean, I think even with Joel Bitonio back, I think it's a solid pick for him in the top of the second round.
All right, last pick, New York. What you got?
Assuming no trades are happening. I mean, right here, if you're the Giants, you would have traded up for Tyler Booker, and you're not even looking at this pick right now.
Tyler Booker is still on the board, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, give me Tyler Booker for him. It's hard keeping track of all the guys, but I mean, at this point, go take your biggest need and the best player available at the position. Especially if you're going to shore up, your quarterback, you can move him wherever you want. I mean, I'm sure he could maybe, move into tackle, but I mean that's going to be a scheme thing. But I think he fits well into probably what Dable's going to be wanting to do. And I mean, they just you got to rebuild from the trenches out when you're the Giants at this point. And I mean, if Tyler Booker's still there, I mean, you talk about value.
It's a roll tide for sure.
Can't disagree.
All right, the Titans. I hate this. Yeah, I'm finally back up, and I mean, this team just needs talent. I know I picked Abdul Carter to start.
Looking back at Turtle, if this were to play out the way it did, and somehow Michael and Jalen Walker are here, would you rethink drafting Abdul Carter number 1 overall?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you gave me the choice, like you can pick Cam Ward at 1, and then you can still have the choice between Mike Green, Mikel Williams, or Jalen Walker. Yeah, I mean, I just totally assumed those guys would be gone. I mean, they could go really crazy here and just pick another edge. I mean, it wouldn't it. I mean, they need everything, and like I'm also thinking about Amarion Hampton here because like you've got Tony Pollard, but he might be you can't count on him really for the next couple years. But that doesn't seem like a team that's like they could spend the luxury pick on a running back early. Now I mentioned this guy earlier, and now this would be really intriguing as a guy who you thought might get picked early in the draft as a quarterback. What if they went Jackson Dart here? And they kind of did like like what the Bengals did that one year, and they picked AJ Green and then Andy Dalton. And they just came here. Oh, we got our generational pass rusher at 1. This guy's kind of had a good combine, floated around, and maybe a possible first round pick. Let's take him on early in the second. Let's go Jackson Dart here.
Yeah,
He does seem a little bit similar to Will Levis in a way, but look, I mean, this is a QB driven league, and I think that it's kind of the same thing with some of these guys that have fallen that we didn't expect to be there. You probably don't expect Jackson Dart to be there at 2-4 with some of the stuff we've been hearing. So yeah, give me Jackson Dart. He had a good combine. Yeah.
And I'll say this about Jackson Dart, and I'll include Cam Ward as well. I think when it comes to actual team fit, I think being in those warmer climates would help those two guys a lot. Like I don't know how successful Dart or Ward would be in New York, in either of the New York markets or Cleveland markets. So I think if Dart could end up in New Orleans or Tennessee like he does here, like I think that would be the best outcome for him. So I like the pick.
Yeah. All right, back to the Jags. So I've got back-to-back picks here.
You and Shad Khan get the same mustache.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. I really Shad Khan. That guy's yacht is just something else. So if I can get one of those at some point, that'd be great.
Took Membao at 5 already.
Yeah, and like I wish there was some more like meat left on the interior defensive line, but those guys kind of all got snagged up. Like I was hoping like a Darius Alexander, somebody else. This Mike Green fall is getting nuts. The thing is the Jags are pretty set at edge rusher with Josh Hines Allen and Jalen Walker showed some breadth last year. Trayvon Walker, sorry. I mean he's maybe not number 1 pick.
You're all Georgia kids anyway. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I mean, you go Michael Williams, get the whole gang back together. This is tough, and Tyler Booker just went off the board too. I don't mean to take too long here. There is a corner that I was eyeing that I think might go here. And that's Trey Amos. Yeah, give me Trey Amos for them. It's definitely not a sexy pick. I mean, I was thinking about going receiver or maybe some other guys that have fallen, but they need DB help so desperately. And Trey Amos, he had a good combine. I think maybe it makes sense to pull a corner here. So yeah, give me Trey Amos.
Yeah, I think Trey Amos, to me, we kind of used him as the barometer last year in last year's draft. Kamari, obviously, we talked about Lassiter a lot last year. I think if there was anybody who would be Kamari Lassiter in this year's class, I think it'd be Trey. I think he got all the tools. He ran a 4.4 at the combine, came in, I think, perfect measurables for a corner in the NFL. I think he is at 6 feet and 3/4, 195. So that's perfect. 4.4, 340.
That sounds like something that Blackstone character would love.
So, and I mean, you talk about a guy. I mean, he was an anchor to one of the top defenses in all of college football. I mean, that's a great pick right there.
Yeah, Lord knows they need help.
They need help everywhere. I mean, Tennessee and Jacksonville are just they're unbelievable.
they're going to have to use some of these premium picks to address glaring issues of need. And if the board falls this way, with how everything has gone so far in this draft, I think the Raiders, what you got to know about Pete Carroll is that he's going to run the hell out of the ball. And that's going to be the base of how he runs this offense. And he's not going to be able to have an elite QB per se. I mean, if let's say the ceiling of a QB he could get in this free agency now that Stafford is off the board is a guy like Sam Darnold. Well, if you're going to get Sam Darnold, you'd better be ready to run the ball nonetheless, especially if he doesn't have Justin Jefferson to throw to. And so I think that the Raiders have to go with a lot of people's RB2 in this draft. Some people call him RB1, just a freak athlete who was able to carry an otherwise pretty hapless offense in this past year. Christian's already gravitating towards it. He's reading my mind right now. It is Omarion Hampton. I think the Raiders are very likely they could go Ashton Jeanty in the first round at number 6. That's something that could happen depending on how the board shakes out. It was where I was looking to begin with. Had Travis Hunter not fallen. But if it plays out this way, they can get Travis Hunter and still come away with a guy who in many classes would be RB1. I think they consider it a success, and they go ahead and take him to be one of the cornerstones of this Pete Carroll offense and Chip Kelly offense, for that matter.
I kind of like what the Raiders got cooking in this draft. That's a fun little duo.
Yeah,
I mean you don't have a quarterback, but you're one quarterback away from having pieces. So
this is for sure. I think the Raiders are going to have to get a quarterback in free agency. They're just going to do what they have to do to get a quarterback.
Whether it be, it could be A-Rod, it could be Darnold, it could be Russell Wilson.
And they've done it before. I mean, they got Jimmy G a couple of years ago to try and plug in and think that it was going to work.
Didn't go well at all.
It didn't work at all.
That's just Josh McDaniels doing Josh McDaniels shit, head coach. But I mean, they did do it.
It's going to have to be a similar type situation, just with how their draft is shaken out, and with no chance at Matt Stafford anymore. They're going to have to bank on a free agent quarterback because they. Let's
put the disclaimer. This is also assuming that Mark Davis doesn't just lose his top, trade up to 1, and take Shedeur Sanders.
Take Shedeur Sanders at 1.
Right.
All right. Who are the Patriots picking in the second round?
I'm picking for New England. Again, I think with knowing all of the edge rushers are still available here is a big deal to me. That's obviously a position of need for the Patriots. But with that being said, there's still a lot of guys on the board that I'm comfortable waiting on. To me, I'm going to take the guy that is not really, I don't think you could say he's T-Mac, but he's the closest thing to T-Mac. We talked about him a little bit. I think to get this guy in the second round, he has an opportunity to be a really good receiver in the NFL. 6'4", real size. Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. This is the kind of Nico Collins type pick that we're kind of comparing to. High ceiling kind of guy. He kind of developed in college and then he took off. He tested really well at the combine. He had so he measured out 6'4" and 1/8", 206, running a 4.47, 1.54 10-yard split. A lot of scouts, a lot of people are saying they should think about taking T-Mac in the first, maybe trading back and taking T-Mac in the first. But I think Jaden Higgins is a very similar caliber. And I think if you can get him at 38, that's a home run for me.
Yeah, I was just going to say he's also one of my guys. I love Jaden Higgins. I think he's a great route runner for his size. He's got some wiggle. Obviously, all that tested out at the combine. So, when the tape matches the combine, you can kind of feel good about that in a way. I love Jaden Higgins. I like the pick a lot here. I think he can be a very, very good NFL receiver. So I'm with you there, Christian.
Yeah. And I mean, they need playmakers for Drake, man. They need to get this thing going with Drake May sooner than later, and being able to add high-end talent at the wide receiver position, which they just don't have at this point, is going to be key in that for sure. But if they do that and they leave Michael Williams on the board for Dennis Allen and the Bears,
Oh my God!
The Bears are
this
just
is going to be this would be crazy. This Michael Williams feels like he was designed in a lab to be a Dennis Allen defensive lineman.
I was gonna say Dennis Allen is having an absolute barn burner.
Oh,
This
yeah.
would be if we were big. If this actually
Graham
came
and
out,
Michael Williams, two guys who there's a chance that neither of them are available at 10. If you can get them at 10 and then at 39, this would just be a dream.
without moving.
Yeah, without even moving for him, that would just be off the wall. It's
I
crazy
feel like
to think about how this could play out because he's everything that Dennis Allen would dream of in drafting a defensive end. We've seen it throughout his time with the Saints, with the type of guys he targets. This just feels like a match made in heaven, and you immediately turn your defensive line, what was a weakness, into arguably a strength, and have a decent amount of depth on it to go along with it. So I think Michael Williams, if he's fallen here because of the lack of production, the Bears won't let him fall any further. They'll bet on the tools. They'll bet on the measurables. And they'll bet on the guy who many people had as a top 3 pick at some points before this past season. So the talent is there. The measurables are there. Didn't quite have the production at Georgia, but is surrounded by freaks, surrounded by great players, a great defense. I think the Bears will bet on those tools.
Yeah,
and
I promise you. I promise you, we didn't do this on purpose either. I really wasn't trying to get Mason Graham to the Bears. I really wasn't.
Let's just pose the question: like, if let's say that Mason Graham was gone at 10, and what if they just picked Michael Williams at 10? Would you guys be upset with that?
I wouldn't be upset about it.
I wouldn't want that. No, I would not.
Interesting.
I'd rather take Banks.
I'll trust him.
Campbell.
I think the beauty of what the Bears have been able to do with getting Tooney and then to a lesser degree getting Jonah Jackson is that they've given themselves so much flexibility in this draft to where you got to swing on whoever you think and whoever you identify as the best available player. And I think they've put themselves in the position to do that. And if they think the best available player is Michael Williams, there are only a few things they could point to dispute that, especially at that point. If Mason Graham's off the board, if some of these other great players at positions of need are off the board, they need an edge desperately. And if you didn't know, edges are expensive, and they come few and far between, the great ones. So if you have a guy who has the measurables of a great one, I think you bank on his potential, especially in the second round. If he falls to 39, it feels like a value pick for the Bears.
But I will say, it's kind of a philosophy too. We've been talking about it all year. Great offensive tackles just don't become available. And we've been mentioning that. So there's really only one way to obtain those guys. It's through the draft. And I think based on what we know, I think there's 3 clear-cut tackles in this class that are at least second contract guys. And I think that's such a position of need for us long-term that I don't think we can afford to pass up on a tackle there, although there's a lot of edges. And I do think Omarion Hampton is the best running back in this class. And I would love to see him taken by the Bears. I don't think he's going to make it out of the first round, but I do understand that that's kind of asking for a lot. So I think the safest option would be just to invest in one of those 3 bookend tackles just off the top. But this, oh my God, if this happened, I'd be through the roof. But yeah, to that point, I kind of I kind of want to take Donovan Jackson here at 40 for the Saints just so the Bears wouldn't get him, because that would just be the perfect draft. And Pat, I see you right there. But I will say I'm going to take Jalen Walker because I think they do need a pass rusher really badly. I thought they could have maybe taken an edge at 9 if they wanted to. But seeing that I got Genty, the home run hitter, I think I can find a guard in free agency. We got a really good production out of the old Bear, Mr. Patrick, Mr. Lucas Patrick this year. So I think we could find a left guard at least to be serviceable this year. Maybe Kellen Moore gets his boy Makai to take some money, come down to New Orleans. Maybe he does that, but I doubt they have the money for it. But I'm going to take Jalen Walker. It sucks for Jalen because Jalen does not he's not going to be able to participate in his pro day, and he didn't get to participate at the combine. I think that's going to hurt his stock a little bit, and I think him falling here to 40 is very realistic just because he wasn't able to show what he's got.
Yeah, I think this is a crazy fall for Jalen Walker. He'll probably get picked after working out at his pro day and putting up some insane measurables and just numbers.
He won't. I think that's the news. He's out.
Not going to work at his pro day?
Yeah, I think he's out. I could. You guys can confirm it, but I think the last I heard is he's not going to be able to.
Okay. Wow. All right. I mean, I still think that a team will bet on his potential. Kind of similar to Jihad Campbell. This is crazy. I mean, you'd think that about a week ago, it feels like you'd flip where Jihad Campbell and Jalen Walker are getting taken in this draft. But yeah, it's crazy how this has fallen. It feels like every team is getting what they needed. You could see kind of the depth of this class beyond that 1 through 10, how then these 20 through 60 picks they can go any number of ways. You know, it's hard to
they're not that much different.
No.
Right.
In terms of the caliber of player that you're getting. So
exactly. And so the Bears are, once again, they gave themselves the flexibility by getting Tooney, by getting Jonah Jackson to maybe push offensive line, at least starting offensive line, down the priority list, if ever so slightly, but you can't let it fall too far. Protecting Caleb is still the number one priority in this scenario. So as Christian alluded to, he wanted to take Donovan Jackson before. I'm going to take him now. We've seen him play up and down the offensive line. He's able to play left tackle. He's able to play guard, projects as a guard, played guard until he had to fill in for Simmons in this past year. But, yeah, a guy who can challenge Braxton Jones, can challenge Jonah Jackson up and down the left side of that line. Absolute quality depth and maybe even a starter in year one. Who knows what they can do, but the Bears need to pour resources into this O-line. And obviously the first 2 picks were too tantalizing along the defensive line to pass up. But in this case, you got to go with conventional wisdom. You've got to invest in the offensive line, especially by pick 41.
Yeah. I'm jumping for joy if this happens. So, yeah.
That's a hell of a Bears draft if this plays out.
Yeah, for real. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Where do the Jets go next?
Yeah, so with that being said, like I mentioned it earlier, you had an opportunity here to take the best offensive player in the draft at that point at 7. I was hoping these edge guys would fall in the draft. They did. I don't know if they fell far enough. And I think the cat is kind of out of the bag at this point on Mike Green. Some of the GMs here have a DND-CC classification on Mike Green. So that's where he is for me. If I'm picking for the Jets, I'm not drafting him for some off the field issues. So we'll pass up on him. But I'm going to get my edge, my next highest graded edge. It's close. I think all 3 of these guys, Landon, Princely, Braden, are all possibly top 50 players in this year's draft. I'm going to go with Princely Umanulon. I think he had the most productive year. He had 11 sacks, played in the SEC. I think he just had a really impressive year. So I'm going to go with Princely here, but I would respect if you went and got Landon Jackson. The kid had an outstanding combine. Braden Swinson also, he's a late riser as well. He had a great year. He had 9 sacks. But I'm going to stick with Princely. I think Princely's a great player. I think the Bears could definitely end up taking him with one of those picks if Michael Williams is not available. So I'm going to take.
He's just the thing about him is he's a true off the ball edge, or I guess I should say he's a true kind of 2-point stance. Doesn't put his hand in the ground. I don't think he ever rushes his hand in the ground.
Yeah, what Hassan Reddick was supposed to be, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it makes sense that he's a fit for the Jets. I would question, because obviously I considered him for the Bears, but I would question the fit.
Sure.
Just because we know they want a true 4-3 defensive end to put his hand in the ground and rush the passer. But other than that, yeah, it makes a ton of sense for the Jets.
This might be tailor-made for you right here, Turtle. Just a straight layup.
Oh, I mean,
what's a sexual assault allegation have to do with draft stock?
I mean, the 49ers would be a team that I think would take a risk on it. I mean, from a talent perspective, I mean, there's a couple of guys that I was eyeing here, so I'll give a quick breakdown. So, like, obviously, Mike Green's the obvious one. I thought about Demetrius Knight just because one of your starting linebackers for the 49ers right now is D. Winters, who I love him as a TCU alum, but I don't think he's proved to be maybe a backup linebacker in the NFL. I don't think he's a full-time starter. And then just from like an interior defensive line perspective, I think they need some more beef there. I really like Alfred Collins out of Texas. The thing is, though, is like Mike Green's here, and they don't they could use to pair somebody outside with Bosa, and it might be worth the swing when it comes from like.
Wait. Could it be Bosa and Bosa?
There could be Bosa and Bosa now that he's cut. That's a great point. You know what? That's a great point. They don't need Mike Green. Joey Bosa's got no character concerns, especially if he's playing with his brother. So you know what? Give me Alfred Collins. I think that's a good defensive line right there. Bosa, Alfred Collins. I really like Alfred Collins, a typical 3 technique, a stuffer. He's very good feet for his size. I think some teams are going to be very happy getting him on day 2. Very happy.
I like that.
So I will take Alfred Collins there.
You talk about run stuffing ability. Like, I mean, he's right up there with everybody.
I mean, but he showed some pass rush wiggle too at Texas. I mean, he's a very good defensive tackle. I hope that he falls to 54 for the Texans because I think we need another defensive tackle in the middle. We only had Foley, Fudikasi, and some other guys kind of floating around there as kind of a meat and potatoes by committee type deal. Boy, if we got Alfred Collins in the defense too with Malachi Starks, I would love what's going on with the Texans. But yeah, I like Alfred Collins, so that's the pick there. Now this feels like Mike Green.
Yes, that's what
it kind of has to be. I mean, part of me is like, if you go back to, Turtle's last pick, I mean, right there was, okay, you can maybe pass on Mike Green and then see if he drops a little bit. I mean, Alfred Collins would have been the perfect pick for the Dallas Cowboys right there. No, I mean, do you need him? Jordan Lewis.
You kind of need him outside of Parsons. Like I don't really.
Exactly. The thing is,
DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent. Yeah.
DeMarcus Lawrence is a free agent, but Trayvon Diggs is also expect to miss, a ton of the first season or of the upcoming season. My one thing with
so is DeMarvion Overshown. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they picked Demetrius Knight here.
Yeah,
I like Demetrius Knight.
The one thing with because see, I was gonna go with Siobhan Revel. He's coming off the ACL though, and I think he wouldn't go here.
I took him in the first round.
Yeah.
You took him in the first round. I mean,
Yeah.
He wouldn't be going here. Alfred Collins is gone. You know, scroll up, Pat. All the way up.
This just smells like Mike Green. I mean,
you know what? I'm going to stick with my morals and take Demetrius Knight. But yes, they could take. No, actually, screw it. What morals does Jerry have?
That's what I'm thinking. You're deferring to morals.
If you're getting Mike Green here, take it.
Yes.
With it. You talk about. Yeah. I mean, you're filling up a major need. That's a great draft board. If you're the Dallas Cowboys and you're getting Mike Green,
it's a great draft board for almost everybody in this draft. It's crazy,
honestly,
the way it's shaping up.
We're up in these teams' overall percentages on Madden.
Yes.
Hella.
We're gonna get a total A on this draft for a lot of teams.
All right. Well, we're on Indianapolis right now after taking Tyler Warren in the first round.
All right, so for the Indianapolis Colts, this is I just mentioned this guy, and he didn't go here to the Cowboys. I'm going to go with Demetrius Knight for the Colts, and the reason why is you could say that they've got EJ Speed and they've got some guys there at linebacker. I'm blanking on the other guy's name. He's got the podcast that he was shit talking CJ Stroud. It was EJ Speed, and who else was he? Do you guys remember the other guy at the top of your head?
It was what's his name?
It's gonna piss me off that I can't remember.
Zaire Franklin.
Zaire Franklin, that's it. Yeah, Zaire Franklin. Zaire Franklin was the shit talker.
The All-Pro.
He is an All-Pro. EJ Speed, however, was one of the worst tackle percentages this season for inside linebackers. So I have to imagine that Zaire Franklin's running mate could potentially be replaced, and I do like Demetrius Knight. He's a great downhill player. He checked out at the combine. He ran a 4.58. That's fast. He is a 6-year guy, so a little bit of a late breakout here. It's probably why he's getting picked in the second, not the first. But he's a big riser, and I think he checks the boxes from a coverage and from a run stopping perspective. And they need another guy next to Zaire Franklin who's not missing a bunch of tackles like EJ Speed. So give me Demetrius Knight here. Kind of a bit of a well-rounded draft for the Colts. You get a linebacker and you get a tight end. So
absolutely, yeah.
I think once the Colts get Tyler Warren, their fans will take anything because that's what they're desperate for.
Well, again, that's another spot where I wish Shiloh Sanders would go, but it won't happen.
Yeah. So just to continue, I mean, I'm picking for Atlanta here. Again, I had an idea that the edges and the interior defensive linemen would fall a little bit. So I like Emenwari here. I think right now, tough choice. But I really do think Michael Penix could really use a guy that can come in and really just change kind of the receiving game in this team. It's obvious Zach Robinson, probably his final year as offensive coordinator. It's obvious he wants to sling the ball. I know he still has Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod, but I think they could use a little bit more speed and just a little bit more, I guess you can say, a more polished receiver. And one of the most polished receivers in this year's class to me is Alec Ionamar out of Stanford. I don't know if you guys watched too much of his tape, but he's been phenomenal ever since he stepped foot on Stanford. He's pretty much been all Stanford's had for a couple of years. And then just to confirm, at the combine, he ran a 4.44, came in at 6'1 3/4, 206. So a little bit bigger than Jack Besh, who I'm also a huge fan of. But this part of the draft is where I expect to find, a similar player to like a Puka Nacua. I think that would take Atlanta's offense to another level if they were able to find that type of player. I'm a huge fan of both these guys, Ellick and Jack Besh. I think they're going to be really good pros. I'm just going to take Ellick just because he has a little bit more tape, if you will. He's got
a little bit more of a gear too. I'm with you there.
Yeah. So,
but he's the one who mossed Travis Hunter, isn't he?
I believe so.
I know that there was that highlight going around. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I'm pretty sure he's the one who mossed Travis Hunter.
It's a decent highlight.
Yeah.
I want people to watch his film for sure. I think he's a really talented receiver.
Yeah, great film. Yeah, I definitely think he's being slept on a little bit. I mean, I remember seeing him. He definitely wasn't as high as he is now after the combine, but I remember seeing him like, a back end of the third type guy. I definitely don't think he's that before. I was like, he's lower than I thought he would be. I almost confused him with Tet McMillan when I was like looking at receivers like way, way back, like during the year. I was like, I confused Tet McMillan with Ayo Mounter. So,
Sure.
But in any case. Oh, this is me, right?
Yeah, you're Arizona.
Yeah,
this is
Arizona.
Forfeit pick.
No, I mean, like I want to go offensive line here. There's still like some really good defensive linemen here, like you mentioned, Christian, that I think they could use. Like, I think that their defense needs a big infusion of talent. I like both TJ Sanders and Tyleik Williams, but I feel like I like Landon Jackson. I do. I like Landon Jackson here. I think they need another edge rusher. And he's the best one that's left on the board. I could see Landon Jackson going a little bit farther up in the draft, and I think they're getting good value here. So
insane combine. He had an insane combine.
And Turtle, that's exactly who I had eyed for my pick, and that's I mean if you're getting Landon Jackson there, you're filling a hole, and I mean like Christian said, great combine, and just that one felt pretty easy off the rip.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the games of TJ Sanders and Tyleik Williams. I think they're both could be good pros, but I think edge rusher is the more premium position. I think they could just use any guys on their defense right now. So,
right, yeah, and I kind of felt what you're saying. I was nervous you're going to take Tyleik here. I think they're losing Calais Campbell. I think they need a clear run stuffer to replace him. They do have some concerns about losing Javon Holland, but I think they can keep him if they really try. So I think just pretty much finally figuring out the replacement strategy for losing Christian Wilkins last year. I think this kind of helps. And then, I'm a huge fan of Zach Seiler as well. So just plug and play for Tyleik. I think if he fell to 48, that's a win. That's good value.
Yeah. Agreed. So here with the Bengals, stay at home. You get a guy who's going to be stout run defender, able to lock out, offensive linemen. I'm going to absolutely butcher the name, but stays in Ohio, goes just south to Cincinnati, JT Tiomayowalu, out of Ohio State. I think that's a great pick for them, great value for them there. And, you talk about where their weaknesses were, explosive runs, not able to get pressure on the defense. I think it sets up pretty picture perfect for them, especially with, regards to, getting someone that's going to be able to set the edge, along with Trey Hendrickson.
And they got Walter Nolan.
And Sam Hubbard, yeah.
Well, Sam Hubbard retired, but they
with Sam Hubbard retiring.
Yeah. But I was saying they got with our first pick in this draft, they got Walter Nolan. So I mean, you completely shore up the entire defensive line with these two picks. I don't know if Bengals fans would absolutely love this draft, but just because there's no sexiness to it. But
this is also
I mean,
coming off. I mean, this is also based off of franchising T. So it's kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm drafting in Madden,
you can't really touch the offense. You can't really draft for the offense.
Yeah. No.
I mean, but
the amount of money.
You shored up a lot with those two picks.
Sure. Now we got Seattle at 50.
All right, so yeah, we picked Shamar Stewart to start. I mean, there's a lot dependent on here. If DK Metcalf is gone, Tyler Lockett's already gone. God, it's gonna be hard to pass up my guy here, Jack Bash.
Yeah. Dude.
I mean, yeah, let's just assume DK's gone and Lockett's gone. I mean, they're gonna need. I think Jack Bash actually complements Jackson Smith and Jigba perfectly. And Jigba can kind of stay where he's productive in the slot. And I think Jack Bash is a nice prototypical outside receiver because he's a bigger guy. You know, he's a former tight end, but he's shown some wiggle. He's a great blocker. I mean, that just seems like a person, like a guy that fits well there in that offense. They're going to want to run the football. So get your guy. He's a good blocker. Jack Bash there to Seattle. Fellow TCU Horned Frog.
And Geno's not afraid of throwing up the deep ball. And I mean, those you at least get yourself a guy who will go up and get it. And I think that's what Bash really, I mean, the one-on-one balls is where he made his bread and butter.
Right. Yeah.
Again, he's not like the best separator, I would say, but like from a contested catch standpoint, I mean, he's super reliable. And he's obviously not small. He's 6'2", but we kind of talked about it earlier with Jaden Higgins. Like, it's a guy who plays bigger than like you would think his height is. Like, you would think that Jack Bash is like 6'4", 6'5", but he plays bigger than his actual size, and it shows up on film. So I think it's a good pick at 50.
I think Smith and Jigba is a little bit of the same way. That'd be a gritty wide receiver core if you kept Bobo, Jack Bash, JSN, and then you had like Barner at tight end with Font. I mean, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I mean, you could think about going tight end here too, I guess, but it might be a little early. That might be round 3. But
Sure. Yeah. I think so with my pick at Tampa Bay at 51, again, I think edges were going to fall. I'm glad they did fall. I think Braden Swinson is the last edge on my board in the top 50 or arguably a top 50 player. I think he had a great year. He had 9 sacks, tested out pretty well at the combine. So he didn't run any 40 time or anything like that, but he came in at 6'3", 5'8", 255, 33 3/8 inch arms. I think he's going to be a good edge rusher in the NFL. So I'm going to take Braden Swinson. Be happy with that pick. I think I had a good draft with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and then moving on to the Broncos, this feels like when you examine the Broncos roster and you look at what Bo Nix was able to do with such limited help on the offensive side of the ball, it makes his rookie season and what Sean Payton was able to cultivate that much more impressive. So with being able to get Loveland in the first and addressing that weakness at tight end, the ability to get – I'm going to go with Caleb Johnson here, running back out of Iowa. This just feels like a guy who he consistently produced in the Big Ten against top-level competition. He was a consistent workhorse running back, had multiple games over 200 yards for Iowa, and has just produced throughout his time there. He has the size to be a 3-down running back in the NFL and is a guy who takes a position of weakness that the Broncos had with Javonte Williams only putting up something like 500 yards rushing last year and turns it into a strength, takes a lot of pressure off Bo Nix to have to pass the ball when they can count on Caleb Johnson to grind out consistent yardage in the run game. And I think that this is just another example of Sean Payton kind of putting the finishing touches, or I should say maybe putting in the foundational pieces that he needs to succeed on the offensive side of the ball with Bo Nix long term.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that pick.
Love it. What do we got for the Steelers?
Can you pull up the drafted players already by the Steelers, Pat, just so I can get a look at the board?
Matt Golden. 21.
Matt Golden. Yeah.
Here.
Quinn Ewers, get the band back together.
I know.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
No, I know. This is honestly, if let's just assume Najee Harris is gone, and you're looking at where do we go from here? Quinshon Judkins from Ohio State, right here, to plug in for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think that is the perfect move for him. I mean, you talk about you're getting the Knuckles, or you're getting the Sonic to the Sonic and Knuckles. More than 1,000 yards in 2 seasons as an underclassman, playing against legitimate talent in the Big Ten. In a hole that you have to address sooner or later. Why not get the value for him here? I feel like, if you're the Steelers, if Judkins is going to be there, because you look at the teams before them with the running back depth that they do have. Yeah, Judkins makes sense here for the Steelers.
Yeah, I think he had arguably the second or best combine out of any running back. He came in, first of all, at 5'11" and 5/8", 221. So he's the same size just about as Omarion Hampton. He ran a 4.48, a lot faster than anybody expected. Omarion Hampton ran a 4.46. So I think Judkins would be phenomenal, regardless of if they bring back Najee or Warren or even both of them. I think the more of a stable you have, the better. So I would love the pick. I think that would help out whatever quarterback ends up being the starter there for sure.
And you've seen with Tomlin in the past, he's going to ride whoever has the hot hand that day. So,
Right.
You could plug in the rookie if those two aren't producing and make something happen. Yeah. So,
and they both might not be on the team too. So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think hard to argue with Quinshon Judkins with that pick for the Steelers for sure, especially if they lose Najee Harris. That's all dependent. With the Chargers here, they missed out on getting Colston Loveland, who they probably were targeting in round 1 in my book. So they have to come back and get a tight end. And I think top tight end on my board at this point, and talking about a guy who's produced consistently in the SEC for a while now, give me Mason Taylor. You're going to go with Gunnar Helm?
No,
I was thinking Gunnar. I was thinking Gunnar Helm.
I like the.
I'll go Mason Taylor just because I think that he has more potential as a pass catcher than Gunnar Helm at this point, and that is primarily what the Chargers need. Now he will need to improve as a run blocker, but I think he has the frame for it, and he has the frame to develop, and he's got the NFL pedigree that I'll defer to when you've got a Hall of Famer, their dad, or at least a future Hall of Famer.
I want to say,
and the famous aunt too.
And a famous uncle. His uncle is Zach Thomas.
Oh wow! Okay, wow. So he's got a pedigree there.
All-time football pedigree, and to that point, Pat, I should have done it, but Tyreek fell to Miami. But yeah, he was going to be my honorary Dolphins pick just because of the pedigree he has, Jason Taylor. Zach Thomas.
I think that Mason Taylor's got the frame that you're looking for. Like I said, needs to improve in the run game, and that'll be a prerequisite for really playing with Jim Harbaugh. But the receiving tools are there, the size is there, the football pedigree that I think Jim Harbaugh will actually honestly respect to some degree. He knows what it takes. I mean, at the very least, he knows what it takes in an NFL locker room, and he'll be bought in.
Right.
Coming from a blue blood program like LSU, I like the pick for the Chargers if they have to come back around the second round. Otherwise, I think they would be targeting the top tight end in round one of those top 2 tight ends if they can get the chance. So the Packers here with their next pick, I was going to go JTT before he got selected, so I'll take the next best thing, and that being his teammate Sawyer, Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. Improve. I feel like this is a good spot for him. Improve the defensive line opposite Rashawn Gary. They've been looking for that edge rusher since releasing Preston Smith, or trading Preston Smith, I should say, this past season. They've had a deficiency there. They've had a hole that they've been trying to fill, and being able to get Sawyer here in the back end of the second round feels like a good value and something that they wouldn't pass on. He also kind of feels just like a Packer. There's something about him that gives Packer vibes to me. So I'll go with the Packers taking Jack Sawyer from the blue blood Ohio State and keep rolling.
Yeah, he does feel like a Packer, honestly. And I think the reason he falls is because he did have really short arms in the combine. So if he falls, that's why. And so I'm picking at 56. I'm taking one of the biggest winners of the combine. That's Mr. Kevin Winston. He went down this year. He only played in 2 games this year, but he measured out so well. And this is a position of need. DeMar Hamlin's a free agent. I don't know if Taylor Rapp is as well, but I think he's a phenomenal pick. He could have been a first rounder had he played all year. And then he actually measured out. Let me just confirm real quick. He measured out at 6'1.5", 215. So he's got some good size. There's a lot of good safeties left. This is a very deep safety class. So I'm just trying to get the one I think that could be the best. I think Winston fits. He can play in cold weather. That's a big deal in Buffalo. So give me Kevin Winston.
I like it. All right, this is a tough one for me. This is my last pick, I think. I feel like I haven't picked in forever.
This is your last.
Well, what was funny is the Rams were supposed to pick next, but the Panthers have it. So this is my last pick. It is my team. Boy, there's some guys that I really like here on the board. I think that this guy could go off and actually, you know what? I'm not going to overthink this because I think we might be able to get this other guy in the third. Let's not overthink this. Give me Arante Essery. He's a solid tackle. He had a good Senior Bowl. This is where we address O-line. I think he is a prototypical tackle. Could be a future NFL starter. And you know what? Laramie Tunsil's gonna be your bookend left tackle. You don't really know what you're gonna do with Titus Howard yet. If Titus Howard does indeed slide to guard, then you're either gonna need another swing tackle if Blake Fisher starts, or maybe Essery can be your starter at right tackle. So give me Essery. Again, not a flashy pick. I was thinking about Trey Harris here. I was also thinking about Shamar Turner or TJ Sanders. But offensive line just is at a premium right now for this team. I do like TJ Sanders. I definitely thought about him. And if we did not get Malachi Starks in round 1, I would really like Xavier Watts here in the second.
Sure.
But it's not how the board played out. So yeah, give me Essery.
That's a great pick. I think he is probably the maximal swing tackle in this class. Like,
Yeah.
the perfect one. He had a great combine. He ran like a 5.01 40 at 6'6", 330. So super athletic for his size.
Yeah, he's not Membo or Will Campbell athletic, but he does check the boxes.
Right. And yeah, we mentioned it all year. Like, we loved when Titus Howard slid over to left guard. I think Ursary has the similar profile to him. So if he could be the left guard, great. If he could be the right tackle, even better. He could even play right guard. So he's part of the best five. I like him a lot. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with my pick here at 58, I don't know, Turtle, did you have anything? Did you want this pick? If you want, you can have it.
No, go ahead. I mean, let's not factor in trades here. You're the NFC. I don't want anything to do with the NFC South. I already have the AFC South.
Sure.
Why wouldn't you offer the Panthers GM job to me? That's my question.
You could
resident
get it, but I felt bad because he got one less pick. But
trust me, I'm not sweating over pick second round 26. What would this be? The 58th pick? Yeah, the 58th pick is right there. I'm not sweating over it.
So basically, all these corners are still on the board. I'm shocked that all four of my guys. These are all I had second round grades on: Thomas, Porter, Harrison, and then Morrison is a borderline guy. Darian Porter had the best. I thought he had the best traits. Like, he's not 6'4". That's not correct. But at the combine, he was measured out at. He was 6'2" and 7/8 inches, 195. He ran a 4.30 40, 149 10-second split. To me, his comp was Trevon Diggs because he did move over to receiver. So I really would love to take him right here. But the one guy that had a better combine than him, Maxwell Harrison, guy ran a 4.28.
Yeah.
If he fell here, I think that you got to take him. He has all the traits to be an elite corner. And yeah, super fast. 5'11 and a quarter, 183. Little bit small, but he's got all the traits to be an elite corner. They need help in the back end.
Okay, so with this pick, there's two names that are running through my mind, and it's Ronnie Stanley and Patrick McCarry, who are both set to be free agents. And that's a part of the offensive line that you have to shore up. It's not sexy, but it is what I think. If you're the Ravens, looking at what you need and what hurts you down the stretch, aging offensive line, I like Emory Jones here out of LSU. I don't know if he's even where he is on the big board, but
a little far down. That's fine. We could still use him.
I don't think it's I don't think it's a bad pick, and I feel like, especially looking at the talent he was going up against in college, stable, good technique. He's kind of a mirror offensive lineman. Like, not going to overpower, but he's not going to let anyone get past him. I think it's decent value at this point. I mean, you're just trying to address needs when you're getting into this part of the second round. But, I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, would you have gone elsewhere?
The only tackle that I would say that is real tackle, because I'm looking at this list, I don't know. Emory might have to play guard just because of the athleticism issues, but I don't see a lot of other tackles. Jonah was super athletic at the combine, but he played on the right side of the line for the most
I like
part.
Embo. I like Embo too, but
Mark, but yeah, you could go. I could totally see Emery probably to plug and play at left guard. I think would make the most sense.
you probably get him way later in the draft. But I don't know.
Maybe, but even still, like it makes sense to pair with Ronnie Stanley because I don't think they're going to lose Ronnie at left tackle, and I do think Emery he's projected as a guard, but I think he's a 4-year starter if I'm not mistaken. He makes a ton of sense. He's more.
They drafted a left guard last year, though, right? I mean, I'm not saying like that should stop him from drafting one this year.
Was it Voorhees, maybe?
I think so. Hang on, let me pull it up
the
here.
ACL. I think he had an ACL 2 years ago, and then he came back this year and backed up Makari all year. So
it was kind of between him and Ozzie Trapolo, the dude out of Boston College.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of Rosengarten. Right tackle.
Yeah,
I'm thinking of him.
Right tackle,
yeah, I'm thinking of him. Yeah.
Honestly, I think the smarter pick is Trapolo. If we're going to be realistic about it, and I mean, I think Emory Jones. I mean, why the hell wouldn't you take him later on?
We can do that. Again, like these tackles, with Trapolo specifically, he measured out. Let's go over him.
The last kind of bookend I think I took with Ursery. I think he was like the last bookend type guy. The other guys kind of got a lot of questions about them.
But I would say like Anthony Belton and Trapolo were my next two guys, and Trapolo 6'8" in 1/8, 316 pounds, 33-inch arms.
Damn.
He's big. He reminds me of a little bit of Rob Havenstein, with how big he is, how long he is. So yeah, if maybe they could slide Rosengarten over, I'll take this. So that makes a ton of sense to me. They definitely need help.
They need help with a position. It's just at this point, it's a matter of like who's the smartest.
Just locating them.
If Trapolo's on the board there, yeah, you're going ahead and taking him.
Yeah, and for the Lions, I think the beauty of having somewhat of a complete offense with marginal pieces to replace, or maybe they bring Zeitler back. Beauty is that you can double dip on the defensive side, feel comfortable about it, and take a guy who really fits what the Lions are looking for, an aggressive man corner with length. I mean, Azareye'h Thomas out of Florida State addresses a position of need at cornerback, so we don't have to see any more of Kindle Vildor. Playing for the Lions, they need depth. They need high-quality corners. Like I said, I've talked about how great the receivers are throughout this division, so you can't skimp on corners. We saw it from the Packers last year, investing multiple picks in their secondary. I think that that trend is going to continue as people see how valuable these secondary players can be, especially one with the unique length of a guy like Thomas. So, I think that they stick with an aggressive man corner who kind of fits the mold of that Dan Campbell mindset. Yeah. And what they're going to be looking for on the defensive side of the ball.
All right. Now we're on to Washington.
You can kind of scratch wide receiver here from need.
Right.
Well, maybe not, I guess. I mean, I don't think trading for Deebo Samuel should stop you from drafting a receiver, I guess, if you really like one, but
what are the thoughts, Mike?
You took Harmon. Number 1 overall.
Number 1 overall there. No, not bad at all. I think, I mean, you talk about
you're picking here, Mike. This is your pick.
I know. Here's what I'm thinking. How much are you guys banking on injury when it comes to a deep postseason run by a tackle who's going to make a difference? And I mean, Cameron Williams right here for the Commanders. You talk about a bounce back from injury. 3 sacks, 2 QB hits, and I think you have a commodity that you know you need to invest in to protect. I think if you're the Washington Commanders, it makes sense here to at least go for it. I mean, this is my mock, and then granted, what the big board shows, but I like Cameron Williams. He's got the weight and he's got the size to play there. So
yeah, he could have stayed another year too. So he's definitely got time to develop. I like that pick. I mean,
kind of like Blake Fisher, kind of like the Blake Fisher pick last year, and almost the exact same thing.
Yeah, very similar.
They hit on Brandon Coleman last year too, so something tells me they wouldn't miss on this type of pick this year either. I think this is a similar style of pick. I like it. So with me, this is the Bills. This is my last pick. The Bills had 3 picks in the second round. They got Winston Ezeraku, and then they get one more here. Huge fan of Darian Porter. When Kaiir Elam went into the game, when they played the Chiefs, I thought you saw a significant drop-off. So I think the obvious pick here is Darian Porter. But I'm just going to check the IDLs real quick. Shamar Turner and Sanders, to me, are both second rounders. So it's tough passing up on them. I'm just going off of being in Buffalo, who probably has a better chance at success. I can't imagine the guys down south want to play for Buffalo in that weather either. So I'm just going to go with Darian Porter and get some depth at that position.
Yeah, no, I think they sorely need depth there. So I like that pick. I was sitting here waiting to slot Benjamin Morrison in somewhere. Because thinking our last draft, I picked him in the first round, but obviously the medicals, he didn't do anything at the combine. Right. So, no, I like the pick. I like Darian Porter there. They definitely need depth there. Kaiir Elam was a known bust, and they were holding on for dear life with him as a former first round pick. And yeah, when he came in, he was getting cooked. So.
For the Chiefs, we saw that they couldn't really get pressure on Jalen Hurts in the Super Bowl when it mattered most. It all starts up front on the offensive and defensive lines for them. You got Chris Jones, who's aging, and still needs some more pieces along that defensive line. You can never have enough. A guy like TJ Sanders falls this far. I think you make the move and you worry about the fit later. I would go with TJ Sanders here. Young, developing defensive tackle that you can slot in next to Chris Jones and hopefully develop into the next great interior pass rusher, because Lord knows they're going to need life after Chris Jones at some point here. He's not going to be immortal forever.
Right.
And we'll round it out here. I love this pick if I'm the Eagles. You're looking at, Dallas Goedert's injury history. He had a great back end of the season this year. He's missed 30 games since 2022. I think it's a position you need to address. And I think you need a pass catcher who's dynamic and is not going to be Grant Calcaterra, who is 3 yards in a cloud of dust for you. Now, I think Elijah Arroyo out of Miami right here for the Eagles is how you round it out. Dynamic. Not the one thing for him is, we'll see how they scheme him open. Didn't exactly, race down the field and get, 40-yard bombs, but, pass, run after catch, able to shed blockers. They're able to shed tacklers, I should say, and I think you're solid.
Yeah, it fits in well next to a good blocking tight end in Goddard.
I love that pick. I mean,
Yeah, I do
absolutely.
too.
That's
a really good pick.
If he's a third tight end off the board too, I mean,
dude, you're getting them there.
Fourth. I'm sorry, but yeah, I love it. That's good value. Good draft, guys. I mean, honestly.